you really proved that you are the expert in English because it was your first attempt in PTE.
Yes.
And you got straight 90s in all reading, writing, listening, speaking in very first attempt.
Yes.
My question now is, how was the exam environment?
When I had to go and give the test, on the test day itself, I was extremely anxious. I could not sleep the entire night before that morning, and I had 2 cups of coffee.
You know what I'm really curious to know now is you
Yes.
were anxious
Yes.
and you still scored 98.
Yes.
So how did you manage that anxiety and that feeling of uncertainty?
So while I was in the waiting room of that exam center, I could feel my heart pound. Literally, I could feel it. But I knew, once the computer screen is on, it lights up in front of you.
Guys, welcome to EnglishWise podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Sunila. She is an MPhil in English, TESOL qualified. She is a subject matter expert in English. If you want to improve your English, if you want to get high scores in PTE or IELTS, she is a go-to person. Very rare we find trainers who have a solid background in English, and she's one of them. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast,
Thank you
Sunila.
for having me, Shivi.
No worries. Sunila, I will start with a statement that you really proved that you are the expert in English because it was your first attempt in PTE.
Yes.
And you got straight 90s in all reading, writing, listening, speaking in very first attempt.
Yes.
My question now is, how was the exam environment? What did you feel on the exam day when you were in the center, in the exam center, sitting on that computer? What was the feeling, and will there be anything that you would like to share with other students who are planning to appear for the PT exam?
Although I do have an advantage over many other candidates because I have a background in English. But when I had to go and give the test, on the test day itself, I was extremely anxious. I could not sleep the entire night before that morning, and I had 2 cups of coffee.
Oh,
Yes, I was that
right.
anxious because I am a naturally anxious person. So it was difficult for me when I first went into the center, and the waiting period is also, although it's not a very long period, it feels like forever because you are so anxious about the
Yes.
test. Yeah, and I know many students also relate with that. And what happened was, yes, so I was, like I said, I was very anxious, and I forgot. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. And you were anxious, obviously.
Yes.
And thanks for being honest. You know, people think that only I feel anxious
Yes.
because I haven't prepared. But what you just said really put things into perspective, that we all can get anxious.
We all feel nervousness and anxiety despite being prepared, despite knowing the subject matter thoroughly.
You know what I'm really curious to know now is you
Yes.
were anxious
Yes.
and you still scored 98.
Yes.
How did you manage that anxiety and that feeling of uncertainty
So,
in that moment?
So while I was in the waiting room of that exam center, like I said, I was extremely nervous. But once I had to go in, my name was called and I had to go in the room to sit for my test. Yes, I could feel my heart pound. Literally, I could feel it. But I knew, once the computer screen is on, it lights up in front of you. I knew that if I mess this up, this moment is temporary, but my scores are forever.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my mindset. So I counted from 10 to 1 backwards very slowly.
Okay.
And then I started with the introduction. You have the 30-second introduction that you're supposed to give before your speaking section starts in PT, right? So most of the people, they skip it or they just say, "Hi, my name is Sunila," and that's all. but I used it. I blabbered.
Right.
I blabbered nonsense that time. I literally said, I'm extremely nervous. Please, if I don't clear this with full scores, it's going to be very shameful.
You're definitely very honest.
Yes, yes. So I
Okay.
said all those things. And then after that, it was like the first question. And I completely changed my, I would say, state of mind. So that is what I would suggest, that it's all right to feel those emotions.
Yeah.
Just because like your trainer tells you, don't be nervous, you are going to do well for speaking, don't be nervous. It's not going to magically disappear, right? It's not going to disappear.
Yes.
You're still going to be nervous. You're still going to be anxious. But be anxious only till that point.
If you have to.
Yes, if you have to.
are,
Till that
yeah.
point before your first question. Okay, and always use your introduction or time, the introduction question. Always
Yes,
use it.
that's
Use
right.
it like your trial question. So if you have to miss something, then miss during that time.
And I also feel, my observation here is that the flip happened when the test was about to start and the
Yes.
real Sunila came out. She's
Yes.
like, I am an
Yes.
expert in English. I deserve getting 90 each and I will. That really came out.
Yes.
And I think this is where students who are prepared for the test must also remember that I'm prepared.
Yes.
I got the scores in my mock test. I got my scores when I was preparing at a center or whatever. And I own it. Like I will get it.
Yes, you
that
have
confidence.
You have to believe in yourself, and you can have self-doubt. At the same time, you can have confidence in your ability.
Yes.
Okay, it's possible to have both.
Both.
So before the test, you can be nervous, extremely nervous, but right the moment before, like just before you start the first question, you have to get into that frame of mind where you are telling yourself you have to do this. Okay, so I feel like words of affirmation that people use,
Yes.
those also help you mentally. If you just tell yourself you can do it, and just go for it.
Go for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
just go for it.
Yes,
That is what I
yes,
would
yes. And what if you mess up in one particular question
that
in
can
the
happen.
exam?
Yes, that can
happens.
happen.
What would be your advice to student if they have messed up with one question?
It's possible to make mistakes, okay, but the key is to let that go. To let that go. When you move to the next question, you cannot keep thinking about the last mistake you made. Otherwise, if you keep thinking about the last mess up that you had, you are going to keep thinking about it, and you will be losing focus. Okay,
Yes.
you'll be distracted. You'll be losing focus from the task at hand. So the rest of your questions are also going to be affected by the last mistake. So you can make mistakes, and yes, they say that 10% of the human error is, accepted by the AI.
Yes,
It's
correct.
accepted by the AI. So it's all right. Even I spoiled one or two repeat sentences which are very long, but I recovered from it by improvising on the sentences, and I didn't think about the last question. Even if you make a mistake in the last question, don't think about it. Yeah, that's the key. Most of us, we keep thinking about the last mistake we made, and then we can't even focus at the task at hand, and the rest of the section is also suffering because of it.
Yes. So what is the biggest challenge that you're seeing with students right now? You've taught thousands of students now.
Yes.
When it comes to PTE. What is that one common challenge that you're seeing among students?
Among students, it depends on the demography.
Which nationality or which background they come from?
Yes.
Right,
That
right.
at the same time, age is also a factor.
All right.
Age is also
So
a factor.
can we talk about subcontinent background with an age group of 20 to 35? And then we can talk about the other demographic.
Yes.
So
So most of the students that we get from South Asia, let's say South Asia or Southeast Asia, they have some kind of exposure to English prior to coming to this country.
True. Yes.
Okay, they do. The level of education may be different from country to country or even region to region within the same country. Yes? But everybody gets some sort of English education as a subject.
Yes.
Right? So even if you are not very proficient in the language, you will still have some concept of grammar, basic.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about advanced, but basic. You will know what tenses are. Okay, you may still make mistakes with the complex tenses, but you will know the fundamentals. Yes. So for them, it is because of their background, varying degrees of familiarity with English. It is, I wouldn't say easy, but quite the entire process of teaching them strategies and how to do the questions are quite smooth especially when it comes to reading and writing.
Yeah.
Okay, there are less chances of making spelling errors unless the word is quite complicated. Okay, for common words, they don't usually make errors. And for grammar also, you have to teach them because we are again talking about adults, right?
Yes.
The last time we studied grammar was in maybe middle school or high school. So even if we have studied, we forget.
Yeah.
So we might have to brush up on those concepts, but they grasp very easily. They grasp those concepts much comparative ease, I would say, as if we are to compare them with other students from other regions.
But the biggest challenge for them, what do you find?
Biggest challenge would be I would say, in pronunciation when it comes to speaking.
Yes.
Because
and sometimes they confuse this with accent.
Yes, that is one of the greatest misconceptions that I face. Almost I hear about it every day. They think that accent is the same as pronunciation. Most of us think that, but no, it's not. Accent is just it's the influence of your regional, I would say, dialect or language that you grew up with. Yes? Whereas pronunciation is the correct way to say that word, the correct sound to produce. Yes? Everybody has an accent. Even British English, when people speak, Britishers speak English, they have regional accents. Okay, unless you are doing the RP, which is the received pronunciation, which is quite outdated now. Nobody talks like BBC News anymore, and not the current BBC News, the radio BBC News.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody talks like that anymore. But otherwise, everybody has an accent, American accent, Australians have accents. So we are influenced, our speech is influenced by our accents, and that's nothing to feel ashamed of. The fact that you have an accent means you have overcome many hurdles in life. It means you have a second language. It means you could be bilingual, you could be polyglot.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is, you should
start taking pride in your accent.
Yes, you should be proud of your accent. It shows your struggles, how far you've come in life. Yes?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So don't confuse accents with pronunciation.
Two different things.
Yeah, you can have an accent but still be able to pronounce clearly with clarity and with the correct sound.
Yeah. What about the Latin students? What's the biggest challenge you see with them? You teach quite a few of them too.
South America. Yes.
South America. Yes. Students from Colombia, Brazil, Latin students basically.
Yes. When it comes to Spanish speakers, they have a very strong regional accent. Okay. So sometimes that accent can interfere with their pronunciation in terms of clarity. I'm not saying their accent is bad. I like their accents. I really enjoy accents actually. But their accent is very dominant. So that can interfere with clarity. Okay. So, and in PTE, because it's an AI evaluated test, okay, there is you don't have a person sitting across you, looking at you, reading your facial expressions, your body language. At the same time, sometimes we lip read also. Yes, so there are many cues that we take while communicating with a person versus an AI. It's just a computer screen, and your only method of communication is the microphone that you use. So clarity is of utmost importance. So like if your accent is too thick, then it can interfere with your clarity. That is something you have to take care of. You have to consciously try to utter those words clearly. Your enunciation should be should be a conscious effort.
Okay.
That is
lastly, the Asian students. Students coming from Philippines, Vietnam, China, Korea, Japan. What is the biggest challenge they are facing, and how can they fix that when it comes to PTE or IELTS?
So, students from East Asia,
yes,
their cases are quite similar to students from Europe, especially Eastern Europeans who have no exposure to English.
Yes, or little exposure.
Or
yes,
very little.
That's right.
No, or extremely little. And the same thing applies for students who are Vietnamese, Koreans, right? So they sometimes have English as a subject in school, and that too is treated like an optional subject. Or sometimes they don't even study English in school, and their first exposure to that language is coming to this country.
Yeah, and I have a huge respect for that.
Yes, it's coming to this country. So it's a very brave and courageous act.
Absolutely.
To, cross an ocean and come to a country whose language, you don't speak.
Absolutely.
But to be able to adapt to the new culture, to be able to adapt to that language so fast.
Yes.
Yeah, that is really impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
For them, how can PT journey look like, and
PT journey.
How can they?
Yes, it can. Yeah, it can be a little more daunting and challenging because they really need to not just practice speaking. At the same time, they have to learn their grammar concepts if they want to do reading well. Yeah. And I'm not talking about going intensively into grammar, because I know a lot of students are scared of grammar. But you need to know the basics. Your tenses, you should be very clear with your tenses, your parts of speech, yes, and sentence structure.
Right.
Yes, these things you need to be clear about. And so they have to, make an effort to learn these things also. And at the same time, they have to focus on their speaking also, because they are not used to using English as a language. They are not even used to reading English text. So they have a lot of issues with pronunciation. Most of them struggle when to, prominently pronounce the ED, and when the ED is part of the word.
Can you give an example?
Like want, when want becomes past, it becomes wanted. Right? Wanted. So that is correct. The ED is quite prominent. But then when you add ED to another word, say for example, love, loved, right? You don't say loved. You say loved. But students who are not familiar with reading English, they will say loved. Because they learned the first rule was to pronounce ED in wanted. So they think the same rule applies to every ED word.
Yes.
So they say loved. So yes, you have to correct them. You have to, and they want to know, because they are adult language learners. They are not just learning PTE. They are also learning about the English language when they come to us, to prepare for PTE. So they want to know why this rule is in place, why the rule differs. Like the example that I gave you was for ED. So then the trainers have to explain it to them for which sound ED is used and for which syllable ED is not used. There's a formula to that. So you have to explain it to them. And it's quite fascinating also, because you as an English speaker, although English is not my first language, I was born in India and I grew up there. So like with every post-colonial country, post-colonial country which was colonized by the British, English comes naturally, almost naturally to us. Yes, English comes almost naturally. think in English sometimes.
Yeah.
We may think
That's
in
an
our native
advantage.
language, but we also think in English.
Yes.
So the fact that you are able to think in a language shows your, closeness or your natural adaptation to that language. Yes. So what was my point?
That's all right.
But I digress.
I think you really mentioned the different challenges every nationality can face.
Yes.
So what is the average time period we're looking at when it comes to preparing for PTE?
That depends on your level, the level of the student. First thing we do is we test the level of the student.
Okay.
And then secondly, the score that one is aiming to achieve.
So your current level
So these
and
two
your
factors play an important role in how much time you need to dedicate. And also because most of the people who are preparing for PT are either students or working professionals, how much time they can dedicate to practice. That also plays a key role, because PT is a lot, like 70 to 80% of the time, it is about practice and muscle memory.
I see. Yeah, 70 to 80%, guys, is practice. So it's important to be consistent, I believe, when it comes to, the preparation.
Yes, you have to be consistent.
Yeah. I have a very interesting question here.
Yes.
Maybe not very interesting, but I think we can really practically demonstrate. Positioning of your microphone is so important in the PT exam.
Yes.
We have a microphone right in front of us.
Yeah.
Could you please show our audience how the microphone should be placed when they are
the PT
doing PT
when
speaking?
one is giving PT speaking.
How far and where it should be placed?
So the microphone that you get for PT will be attached to your headset.
Compared to this one?
Yeah, compared to this. It's a very small, what is this called?
Like a head?
Yeah, it has a very small head, right?
Yeah.
So when you wear your headset, and you can adjust the microphone, right? You can adjust the stick. Yeah, you can adjust the position. I would suggest that you keep it parallel to your lower lip. Parallel to your lower lip, not your upper lip, but your lower lip. Because if it's a little above, then the microphone will catch your breathing sound, and it might interfere with your clarity.
Right.
Okay, the breathing might interfere with your clarity.
So let's say this is the head of the microphone. Yes. Where would you place this one if you can show?
Like, how do I?
Yeah, you can show. Okay,
where is the camera?
That's your camera. Yeah.
All right. So if this was the small head of the microphone, then this is my lower lip. So parallel to it.
Okay,
just straight parallel to it. Because if I place it too further down also, then the voice may sound, it may not sound quite clear or loud enough.
Right.
Okay? And already, although the microphone that we are using is enough to just capture your sound and filter out the external noise, but still you have to place it in the right position for the microphone to be able to successfully do that.
Right.
So that's why I would suggest just doing it right parallel to your lower lip, not above or below.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that's a very good demonstration. Thank you so much. I think I have seen so many students not getting their desired score just because how they placed the microphone.
Yes.
So they're fully prepared, but just the way they put the microphone can really mess up. So thank you for that. Now, coming to the overall journey, PT journey, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of softwares, there's a lot of practice material. Students tend to go in the exam without preparation. When I say without preparation, they don't want to go to an expert or they don't want to take any classes. They will go for the mock test. They'll probably use any of the platforms out there. They will ask their friends for templates or some materials. What do you think? Is this the right approach? If yes, then who is it right for? And then who should really, really take classes? If you can please give your honest opinion on this, considering your experience in the industry and the variety of people, students that you've come across in the past.
I will not completely dismiss the online material, the free online material that you get to prepare PTE.
Yep.
That can work, but it will only work for a student or a learner who already has an advanced English proficiency. Yes, because only when you are an expert in that subject matter will you be able to discern or differentiate between the good I would say advice and the useless one. Because most of the online content that you get, it is also I would say it is also produced to get more viewers or to have
the intention is not really to help.
Yes, it is to advertise themselves.
Yeah, it could be to get the business in a way. Okay.
Yes, so like a person who is already efficient in English, they will be able to differentiate between what is good content and what is just
average content.
Yeah, average or just fillers.
Right. But what's the definition of good English or proficient or advanced English? Because if students are listening to you right now, they probably have no idea what level are they sitting at.
Yes.
So if I have to follow your advice, first I would like to know where I stand in English. How can I know and what does it really mean?
Good English would entail that you can actually test yourself. Okay, you can test yourself if you are not sure. There are two types of, I would distinguish people who have a good command over English into two categories. The first one is people who have learned English in an academic setting and they have an advanced degree in English. They are naturally confident because they have dealt with that subject matter. So for them, you may not even need to do a self-test. And there is the second kind who may belong to another field, but they, because of their maybe the kind of education they got and the kind of environment they grew up in, if they were exposed to English a lot, even they can eventually become proficient in English, even if they didn't get a higher degree in English, they can still be proficient. So for the first kind, they may not need to do a self-test. The second kind, they can do online tests, self-test. There are many websites which will test your English level, whether you stand at A, B or C advanced.
Can you give an example of any website?
Cambridge does that.
Okay. Do you know the URL? What is it?
Cambridge? British Council also does that. You can search, you can go to their website and see the tests that they
So just Google Cambridge or British Council and you can test your English level.
Check your level.
Right.
That is what you can Google. Otherwise, what you can do is you can even get subscription to practicing software, PT. Because PT, you can be good at English, but you have to train yourself to that PT module to be able to get that score. Because if, in case, even if you take my case, if I had gone to give the test blindly, just being overconfident, and just going there straight and giving the test, I wouldn't have gotten the high scores that I expected to. I wouldn't have. Because PT is a lot about strategy.
It's a special type of test. It's not,
so whether you are proficient in English or just a beginner, you have to do the mock test. You have to learn the format. That is very important. You have to learn the strategies, the format, and how to manage time. Time management is very important. And for a student who is not very confident with the language, maybe they may have studied English as a child, or the exposure that they got to English was by traveling to other places or to this country for that matter. for them, they need the external help. Okay, and for them, they can watch the online content that they get access to, but at the same time, they need a professional trainer or an expert to guide them through it.
You know what I really feel? There are all these resources out there. I completely agree.
Yes.
There's no harm. It's actually good. You're going to learn something. There's no question about it. You're not going to lose out on anything.
Yes.
But it can create a bit of confusion. And if you're really confident about your PT score, it's still a good idea to get some lessons.
Yes.
That polish.
Yes.
You know, it's like...
I completely agree with you. It's still, online content is too much.
Yes.
It's oversaturated
and it's
at
an
this
expensive
point.
test. $445 now, Australian dollars.
I know.
You mess up one test, you got to pay $500 again.
Yes. And not just the price of the test, but the time, the effort, and the stress.
Yeah,
that
every time you
go through before booking the test, during the test, and just the anticipation of the scores also. It's a very daunting process, very, very exhausting.
Yeah,
because see, for PT, I know that as a trainer, people don't come to us because they want to learn a language as a hobby.
Yeah.
They are there because they have to get the score.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not there because they are just strolling around. They don't have. I'm really passionate about doing things. It's not like I woke up one day and I'm like, I think I should learn French. No, it's not that. They are there because out of compulsion.
Yeah.
Right? Not because they happily want to. So, and most of them are on a very tight deadline as well.
Yeah, they are. But I think sometimes they put themselves into that situation.
Yeah, sometimes they do put themselves
into that situation. They always have time, but when they're running out of time, they have a deadline, then they are like, you know what, I need some coaching.
They do that. Some of them, even if they join an institute for coaching, they treat it like a gym membership. They join at they treat it like their New Year's resolution. They join and then they disappear, poof, ghost. Okay, and then right before their test, they come in panicking, saying, "I need to get the score. I don't know what to do." And then that transfers to you also because personally, I am a very empathetic person. I cannot see someone else suffering in front of me. So my thing would be, I want to help you to the best of my ability. But yes, you should have come early.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, that can happen. But that is one variable which you cannot control when you are dealing with humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be so interesting to know how you handle these students. Like, what do you do with them when there's very limited time? Let's say they've come to you, they got a week or 2 weeks max. And they need a reasonably high score, let's say 7, which is 65 in PT, 65 out of 90. They got a couple of weeks, they're sitting at 6, 6.5, 50, 55. What do you do with them in those 2 weeks? And I'm pretty sure you have had some success stories who got the scores in such a short span of time. What did you do with them?
The scenario is not ideal at all. It is challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, it is challenging. But then if that person needs to get 65 each band and they are at 50 and say they have around 2 weeks to do that. Okay, it's a leap to jump from 50 to 65, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge gap. So what we do is we usually tell them to go through a mock test because they already have experience with PTE module, the test. Because they have already scored 50 before, or maybe even in the mock test they have 50 before. So we tell them to go through a mock test, and then we check the questions individually. I am not even concerned about the individual scores, the mock test scores that they get in the modules. I look at the individual questions, how they have been answering it. And yes, if they can do well in speaking, if there's scope, then I focus a lot on speaking because speaking is one module that keeps on giving, the gift that keeps giving.
Right.
Yes, speaking will give points for listening, for reading, Yes. So that's why I tell them to focus more on speaking. But at the same time, it's they need 65 each, not overall. Right?
Yes.
So they have to focus on other modules also. So for reading, I try to improve their comprehension skills.
Okay, how you comprehend.
It's not just reading is not just about grammar. It is also about comprehension skills. The PT is not testing you, whether you know it's not asking that, do you know how to read this sentence, or do you know which prepositions to fit in this sentence? They are also, at the same time, they are also asking that, yes, there is a passage, I know you can read, but can you understand what you've read? Because now this blank that I've given you is not based on grammar, it is based on understanding of the passage. It is context based.
Right.
So I try to improve their comprehension skills, not just, continuously like a zombie. Students keep on doing the questions one after the other. I tell them to read extra material also, whatever they can get their hands on, whether it's a news report or an email, or sometimes I give them reading short stories for let's say 8th graders or high schoolers, not very difficult ones, easy to read. And then I tell them to write a very short, maybe one paragraph of their understanding of that story to see if their comprehension skills are improving or not.
So skill building is more important than just keep doing those practice questions and mock tests, right?
Yes.
So once you understand how to approach a question, you can actually prepare for the test by doing limited practice. Like you just don't have to go crazy, as you said, zombie about doing practice tests. How many are we looking at on an average? How many mock tests one should do before going for the real exam?
Before the test, that also depends on the preparation time that they have.
Let's say they have about 4 weeks.
Yes.
And you need about 7 each.
7 each.
65.
So the first week, I do not recommend doing a mock test at all. The first week, build on your skills. Okay, the skills that are needed to ensure that you get a good score in your mock test. So for the first week, I am only, preparing them.
Build your foundation, basically.
Yes, building their foundation. And then from the second week onwards, I recommend at least 2 to 3 mock tests. But always when you give your mock test, you have to take the feedback. Okay, so 2 to 3 mock tests a week, but always take the feedback, and based on the feedback, you have to practice also. Because if you don't practice after getting the feedback, the next mock test you give maybe after 2 days, because you don't have a lot of time.
And this feedback will come. Sorry. This feedback will come from a human trainer or from the.
Yes, the AI will give you the score.
Yes.
But the only accurate scoring that AI does is for, let's say, the questions which already have an answer key. Like fill in the blanks and some questions from listening, like highlight incorrect words. So questions which already have an answer key, those scores are accurate. Yes. But what about, let's say, questions where, other factors also make a difference, like the entire section of speaking, let's say, almost. Yes.
Okay.
And also your writing. Yes. How well good your points are. Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. So the content that you give. Okay. The content, you have templates in PTE, but you also need content to back it up.
Absolutely.
Template is just, it's like
structure. It's like a skeleton.
You are making your own human. You are making your own Frankenstein. So template is the skeletal structure. You have to fill it with meat. So meat is your content.
Yes.
So template is only there to help you, to push you. You cannot 100% rely on template. It's only there to, maybe if you are only aiming for, let's say, a band 6 or lower, okay, in PTE, then you can rely a lot
completely
on templates, because it will give you the fluency and the sentence structure, the correct sentence structure that is needed.
Yes.
But if you are aiming for a higher band, say 7 or above, you have to
build skills and understand the
yes, exactly.
test. Yeah.
You have to improve your content at the same time.
How much past exam questions are important? How much do they help in the test?
Past exam question papers, they do help in the sense that they will give you an idea on the type of the pattern of questions that have been coming in.
But can you fully rely on them?
No, because every time will be a new set of questions. Because it's AI generated, right? So it can generate n number of questions. But it does help. You have to look at past question papers or prediction files at the same time to get a sense of, the trending topics. Trending topics or areas that the questions delve into.
Okay. So these past exam questions, let's say I'm going for an exam in about 2 weeks or 4 weeks. How many questions can I expect to be in the exam? Same questions that have come into the exam in last 4 weeks. So let's say I've got data from somewhere from last 4 weeks, like these are the past exam questions, like recent past exam questions. And then I've got an exam in about 2 to 4 weeks. What is the probability that some of these questions will be in the exam again? From your experience, what have you come across?
I wouldn't completely dismiss it, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
All right.
Okay, you might get 1 or 2 questions.
But not too many, is it?
No, not too many. And during the test, you are kind of, anxious to get through it. You forget that, that you have already practiced this question. Sometimes you remember that this question was something that you practiced before, but then you forget the answer. So everything is new to you again. So, that is what I would suggest. Go through previous question papers, look at prediction files, but don't, rely on them completely. Only look at those materials as a guide, not as something that, to rely on.
Yeah.
So that is what
makes sense. I'll probably come back to close to my original question, the first question that I asked. When you went for the exam,
yes,
it can be a little anxious experience. And I'm just thinking about students who struggle with English, like English was not their first language, like us, but then they had no or little exposure. So now they have to do PTE or IELTS, but then they've got 2 issues here. First, they know that their English is limited, and then they have to pass the test as well. So they've got 2 challenges. They've got to understand the test, how it works, but also work on their English. What sort of structure, what sort of course would you recommend? So, will it be like a combination of general English course?
So the first thing is, I'll again go back to time. Because in order to get somewhere, you need to put in that time, that effort. You can't, expect a magical hack. I turn my wand around and then poof, transferred into something else. No, nothing's going to happen overnight. So for people who want to get good scores in PT, at the same time, they also really want to learn English in order to maybe get better opportunities in the country.
Yes.
And in order to be able to communicate every day also. Yeah, something as basic as that. So for them, I tell them to start the course a little early than the rest of their peers. And I tell them to do a combination course, a hybrid course between general English and PTE. Okay. That way we can focus on their foundational skills of English and we can cover all the modules that is needed to be proficient in that language, so that we can get them from maybe A level to B2 level.
All right.
Okay, that is our aim, to get them from A, because they have just started, so they are basic.
Yes.
So from A2, we have to get them to B2 level.
Right. What's the third level after B2? which is like an advanced
level.
Right.
So
from A to B2, what time frame are we looking at for both General English and PTE?
General English and PTE. Roughly, let's say if they can come for their lessons regularly or at least 3 times a week, then give or take 3 months.
Okay.
3 months.
That's not bad.
That's
bad. Not bad for a test which can change your life. Yeah.
But at the same time, we are also building their English proficiency. Right? It's not just PT, because you can get a superior. You might even get 65 each in PT, but you can still be very, let's say you can get 65 in PT,
but still struggle to communicate.
But still you can still struggle with your English.
Day-to-day life.
Okay, because like I said, PT is a lot of strategy also.
Yeah,
so
it's more
some people,
test,
their English may be weak, but they follow the strategy to a T.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are so dedicated, they don't digress from that goal. They can still get 65. But like when you look at their progress of the language, it's not much. So for people who want to learn language also, that they can use it in their everyday lives, at the same time get the PTE score also, we would recommend doing a hybrid course of General English and PTE. That way you will feel by the end of the coursework, you will feel like, you have gained more than maybe thought you would, because you are now getting the score. At the same time, your language skill has also developed. You are more confident. You have more opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes, professionally and personally. Your social life improves, and your professional life also improves. So like it is an investment.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree. Guys, if you are planning to improve your English, you want to get better in Australia when it comes to personal and professional life, then this is an opportunity to learn from Sunila. She's an expert in not just PTE, but English, teaching English. And very few people have that ability and skill set. And we're very grateful to have you with us, Sunila. Thank you so much for your time today, first of all. And I can confidently say that you truly added value to people out there. This is going to be on our software as well, PT software. About 60,000 plus students will be able to access this podcast. They'll be able to listen to you and learn from you. And I think it will be a game-changing experience for them. Thank you once again. If you want to say something to the audience, please feel free.
What should I say?
Anything that you feel can help them to get their scores in PTE or improve English.
I know language learning can be tough, especially as an adult in a foreign country where you have to keep a job, you have a family to take care of, and as well as maybe a coursework in a different area. But you can still be able to learn the language and get your scores because you are capable. You have come so far. It shows that you can do it with the proper guidance with the right trainer.
Guys, if you're planning to sit for the PT exam, book a 15-minute call with us. We will assess your score report. We will let you know where you stand. We will guide you how long you need to prepare for. Please do this. There's no obligation. Instead of just going to different websites, learning random stuff, it is important that you get a proper guidance from a professional PT trainer, just like Sunila, and we can make a customized plan for you and you can follow that. There's no obligation at all to enroll with us. Thank you so much, guys. We're seeing a lot of issue with a lot of students these days. They just randomly book the test and fail the exam again and again. We don't want this to happen to you. So please book the call if you are planning to sit for the exam. There's nothing that you lose. Thank you so much.